FYF Sports here, man. It's Lamont. I'm back with another breaking news video, man. We got some interesting news reported by ESPN this afternoon. Really curious to see what you guys have to say about this specific topic. It's something that I've touched on a number of times in the past. I've taken a lot of criticism for taking this stance, but again, now it's starting to come to light, and now it's something we have to deal with because it's coming to the forefront. Before we get into that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to all of our videos. Again, we drop these breaking news videos on a daily basis, so you don't want to miss any of these videos because again, we take a unique perspective towards all of these points. Again, we like to think outside of the bubble. We don't like to follow other people's perspective. We like to look at everything, through a looking glass. We like to take our own discernment and perspective and then come to a conclusion based off that. So again, with that being said, again, right now we're going to be talking about one of the primary plans that we know of, at least, that's actually coming to fruition. That Kyrie Irving and Chris Paul, again, and we say Kyrie Irving and Chris Paul because this is the vice president and president of the Players Union. These are the two guys that came together, spoke for the players. Chris Paul speaking primarily for players that wanted to play. Kyrie Irving speaking primarily for players that wanted to sit out for these social injustices. They came together, met with the NBA, and they formulated a plan with regards to what they can expect the NBA to do to assist with, some of the issues in today's climate with regards to social justices and social reform. The players, some of the players felt that the NBA should be doing more. They have the resources, they have the pull to take a more active role in some of these communities. They feel that the NBA, they have the money, they have the finances, they have the resources to affect an immediate change in these communities. If given some type of plan, if given some type of guideline of what the players expect them to do. Now, as what was widely reported, it was widely reported that the players, primarily Kyrie Irving's group, the coalition of players who wanted to sit out due to the social injustices, it was widely reported that their plan lacked anything tangible. They did not have a set plan. Obviously, they had a list of goals, things that they hoped for, but there was no set plan. A week ago, we reported that Adam Silver and the Players Union came together and said that some plans have been agreed upon, but with regards to the social justice issues, no set plan had been made. There were just ongoing discussions. The only thing that was set in stone was the fact that the NBA was going to allow players messages on jerseys, and then as I reported, or as I quoted from Lou Williams, he said messages on jerseys and then social justice commercials during the 3-minute timeouts. So those are the two tangible things that we know the players requested and probably will be receiving. With regards to anything else that was actually put into motion, we don't know. Adam Silver reported that these things are all in the works. I specifically felt that was unacceptable. I feel if these guys are really serious about these social justice issues, then sitting out and making the NBA agree to something that's tangible so they can't weasel their way out of it at a later date would be the best course of action. Other people felt that the plan that was set in place, although it was just kind of far-reaching, it didn't really ask for anything. It just said a number of things. Some people were happy with that. I guess to each his own. To me, I just felt I held the players to a higher standard. The reason why I hold the players to a higher standard is because you're led by two of the smartest men in the NBA. You're led by Kyrie Irving and you're led by Chris Paul. These aren't just basketball players. These are scholar level thinkers. They're very intelligent brothers. So I know for a fact that if I can sit down and come up with some tangible things that you can do in the community as the NBA with your resources, I'm sure that they could too. When we look at today, today a report came out that the 76ers Mike Scott and the Celtics Jaylen Brown were extremely unhappy with the NBA's jersey message plan. And Mike Scott went as far as calling it a very bad miss. Mike Scott was quoted as saying, "I'm all about just doing. Instead of saying and posting or putting something on the back of your jersey, I don't think that's going to stop anything, So my question is this, by Mike Scott saying that I'm all about doing instead of saying, posting or putting something on the back of our jersey, I don't think that's going to stop anything. That leads me to question. He's an NBA player. I'm sure he knows what the plan is by now. He knows what the players potentially ask for, what they expect to get back from the NBA. My question is, was there anything of merit or anything that was tangible on that list that will actually help the community? Are we asking the NBA to do anything other than just put sayings on jerseys or 3-minute commercials during timeouts? Because according to his statement here, it doesn't sound as if he believes the NBA has been asked to do any much more than this, which is why he's so extremely disappointed with this. And this is not to mention the fact that he's also disappointed at a number of other things with regards to this, this jersey issue, him and Jaylen Brown. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. I'm going to let you guys make the decision. I just want you guys to hear him out, and then we'll just discuss it after that.
Six-time NBA champ, Basketball Hall of Famer, Scottie Pippen. Our Jump family is slowly reuniting, guys. I'm so happy. Love having you here, Scottie. And coming up as the Celtics continue their preparation. I love it. As the Celtics continue their preparation to chase an 18th NBA championship, is 22-year-old Jason Tatum already capable of being the best player on a title team? We're going to discuss that. First, though, so remember when the undefeated Mark Spears reported that the NBA and its players union agreed upon a specific list of approved social messages that players can put on the backs of their jerseys to wear when the season restarts in Orlando? Well, today, the Sixers' Mike Scott and the Celtics' Jaylen Brown said this in response to the reported list.
They gave us some names and phrases to put on the back of jerseys. That was terrible. It was just a bad list, bad choice. They didn't give players a chance to, voice their opinion on. They just gave us a list to pick from, So that was bad. That's terrible.
I was disappointed, very disappointed in the list as well. That was agreed to. I think that things were tried, attempts were made to add to that list, but the NBA agreed that list was what was satisfactory. So hopefully, maybe we can get some more names on that list or some more things to add, or meet in the middle, but I was disappointed as well.
So as a reminder, here's a list of some of the notable approved messages, including Black Lives Matter, Say Their Names, Vote, I Can't Breathe. There are several more there. Scottie, I'm curious your reaction to both of those guys' comments, because I also want to note Jaylen Brown is on the union's executive committee. Hopefully he had at least some input when all of this was being bargained, but he doesn't seem very happy with it now, and neither does Mike Scott.
Well, obviously it's something that was not put together by the players. And I think that right now that the players have an opportunity to speak up. They have a stage, they have a platform, and that they should get things right before they go back to play. There's a lot of issues going on with whether or not these players should even be on the basketball court. But if you're out there and you don't feel like you're sending the right message, or they got something on your back that you're not agreeing to, then I don't think that that's showing that, that they're unified and that they're ready to come back and really bring a lot of positivity things back to the game. And that's what they need if they're going to come on the basketball court.
Rachel, I need to learn more about this because I don't quite know what the process was. Jaylen Brown, who, as you mentioned, is a vice president of the Players Union, he referred to it, that there was some sort of process involved with the union here, and they did have negotiations here, but I wasn't sure how much they solicited the wide players' input. It's not 100% clear, but I have to also say that this is a process that's never been undertaken before. So on the other hand, I have to say that the league is trying to make positive change here and trying to do something where the players can use this platform, but it's not something they've ever done before, and there's logistical challenges, and they don't have uniform operations as normal because they're going to be in the bubble. So it's difficult to know exactly. I would just say that when I saw the list, having nothing to do with it, I thought the list was a little bit restrictive myself.
So we're going to pause it right there. We're going to talk about this real quick. So again, one of the main reasons why Kyrie Irving needed a clear and concise plan, and I've said this time and time again, because when you're dealing with organizations like the NBA, when you're dealing with politicians in government, when you're dealing with people on this type of level, if you don't come with a plan that's cut and dry and there's no way to weasel out of it, then what you do is you leave a lot of room for things like this to happen. The players and the Players Union felt they came to an agreement with the NBA on these jersey patches, these names on jerseys. The NBA's found a way to manipulate this to control or limit what the players can actually say or have on their jerseys. And as you can see, some players are not happy about that. In regards to a lot of the other social things that Avery Bradley mentioned on his list, those were things just mentioned or discussed, or as Adam Silva said, in discussion. There was nothing that the players proposed that was cut and dry, set in stone. Nothing that we know of, at least. The only things that we know of, at least, were the things that Lou Williams simply exposed about the plan when he conducted an interview, which he said the players would get slogans or patches on jerseys and social justice commercials during 3-minute timeouts. That's what we know they asked for. Again, there may be other things on that list, but according to Adam Silva, in a recent report, he says that all of those other things are still in discussion. So in regards to Kyrie Irving and this coalition of players who said they were all about this social justice reform effort, where are you guys at, and why are you guys not announcing that you're not going to be playing in the bubble due to these social issues and due to the NBA's inability to properly address what you've asked for? The NBA's already superseded you and taken over what you've asked for with the jerseys. They've limited what you can even say on the jerseys. So now your voice is already restricted when it comes down to something as simple as the jerseys. And again, these things happen. These things only happen when you take these issues up and you don't have a plan. All right. And when you see the NBA taking this stance, when you see the NBA putting their foot down, trying to control the narrative or control what you can or cannot say when it comes to these social issues, that's more of a reason for you to step up and say, you know what, the NBA is not doing their job correctly. All right. We asked for these things and now you're trying to manipulate it, so we're going to sit out. Where are those players? Where are those players? According to some people said that, there was 80 to 100 players who were willing to sit out. If these 80 to 100 players don't play, the NBA comeback can't function. Where are these 80 players who are willing to sit out? We still haven't heard from Dwight Howard. We still haven't heard from a lot of the guys who were against playing in the bubble because of the social issues. Everyone's kind of went radio silent on this, and now no one can step up when we have players like Jaylen Brown and when we have players like Mike Scott step up and just simply let you know that this jersey issue was not just a terrible idea, but the NBA stepping in to take control of it. So you're not even getting across the message that you intended to. See, and I talked about this weeks ago, and I predicted that this exact thing would happen. But Lamont Lane is crazy. But Lamont Lane, he's cooning when he questioned Kyrie's plan. But Lamont Lane is buck dancing. When he says Kyrie Irving, as the vice president of the Players Association, should be prepared and studied when presenting anything to the NBA. But now you see why you have to be prepared. Now you see why you have to have a plan. And because you entered into all these talks with the NBA with no plan, now you've lost your power with the NBA, one, and now you've lost the players who were following you, two. Right? And so now you lose on both fronts. Right? So now my prediction still remains the same. No players will be sitting out due to these social issues. All the players who've announced that they would be sitting out this NBA shortened bubble season are players who've all used other reasons, such as family issues. Right? Avery Bradley mentioned his son not wanting to bring it around, potentially putting his son at harm's risk. Now, Avery Bradley did also say that he wanted to focus on social issues as well, but no other player has done so. All right. To date, we have over 10 WNBA players who've clearly come out and state that they are not playing because they want to focus on these social issues. We have Maya Moore, who's given up her entire WNBA career to focus and address these social issues. These are WNBA players who make far less. They make far less. Their salaries are much more important. For them to get, their $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 salaries in any given year is extremely important. As a lot of people say, there's a lot of people out there who are counting the pockets of these NBA players. A lot of people out there will say, the NBA players, they're already millionaires. They don't need the money. They can afford to sit out. So I want to know, where's this push for the players to sit out now, especially now that players are coming out and voicing their displeasure with what the Players Union has requested, right? And there will be a lot of people who try to blame this on Chris Paul, which he has much of the blame as well. But at the end of the day, we all know that Chris Paul was one of the players who just wanted to get back to playing basketball. It was Kyrie Irving and the coalition of 80 to 100 players that he led on that phone call, stating that they were willing to sit out if their demands were not addressed. And as we can see right now, the simplest of their demands was not even addressed correctly. Patches on jerseys. So what else will the NBA botch? If you ask for anything more elaborate, such as hiring practices and giving more African Americans opportunities to work within the NBA, do you think the NBA is not going to try to finesse that as well if you let them? Like I said, man, when you don't come into this with the plan, when you have all the leverage, now you've essentially given all your leverage away, and you've lost both sides. You've lost the NBA, and you've lost the players that follow you. But, hey, I think there's a little bit more to this video. We're going to keep it going. I'm curious to see what else they have to say, if anything else. But I'm going to get back to the video.
Well, it's interesting. We had Chiney Ogwumike on the show on Friday, and she's, of course, on the executive board of the WNBA, and they've been negotiating with the NBA on the same issue. She said she expected some very strong things on the backs of players as they go forward. So we'll have to see what they decide, whether they use names, whether they use messaging, and we'll keep an eye on that story. All right, the Bucks and Kings both shutting down their practice facilities after positive COVID tests this weekend, making it a quarter of the 22 teams that have now stopped.
All right. So again, as we see, it's just a disappointing. It's just really disappointing when we look at this right here. It's really disappointing, primarily because we expected more. And then, there were a lot of people who had Kyrie Irving's back. There were a lot of people who even had his back, knowing that he didn't have an effective plan going into this. There were a lot of players who knew Kyrie Irving didn't have an effective plan going into this. But at the end of the day, I have a saying: you don't jump off, you don't jump off the edge of the cliff and then try to assemble the parachute on the way down. You jump off the cliff and you trying to assemble your parachute on the way down. High percentage chance you end up crashing and burning right at the ground. But if you make sure you got your parachute locked in, secured, you ready to go, all right? You got your safety valve ready to pull, you can jump off that cliff with confidence, all right? And you know that you're always going to land on your own 2 feet. And so I think that's what kind of happened here. It was the politically correct. It was the popular thing to do at that time. You had the people behind you when you were saying, let's sit out, unless something is done for these social justice issues. That sounds good. But at the end of the day, if you actually accomplish something with that plan, then you would not have players like Mike Scott saying, I'm all about just doing, instead of saying and posting or putting something on the back of your jersey. I don't think that's going to stop anything, So my question again to Kyrie Irving, to Chris Paul, to anyone else who backs Chris Paul, to anyone else who says Chris Paul has a plan or Kyrie Irving had a plan, I want to know, what did they discuss with regards to social justice issues? Did they ask the NBA to put in place to affect our communities, to affect social justice reform, to affect a real and tangible change? So again, all the rah-rah talk, all the hype talk, again, it all gets exposed. It all gets exposed. And what it looks like here, it looks like Kyrie Irving jumped behind all the rah-rah, all the hype talk, because everyone was rioting, everyone was against the man, but he jumped in. But as the people came to Kyrie because you're the vice president of the Players Association. I get it. You go to Kyrie if Chris Paul is not giving you a fair chance to speak your voice if you're against playing. We all know that Chris Paul wanted to play. But the one thing about having that job as the vice president and the president of the Players Association, and the WNBA explained this very well. When you take those jobs, you're now working with the owners and the NBA. It's your job to find a way, if play stops, to get back to playing. It's your job to find a way to get back to playing. Chris Paul was simply doing his job, trying to find a middle ground to get back to playing. As the president of the Players Association, he can't take sides. It's his job to help get the NBA game started back up. Kyrie, this is another reason why everybody was mad at Kyrie Irving, primarily because as the VP of the Players Association, it's not your job to take sides. It's your job to find a way to work with the NBA and work with the owners and get the game of basketball playing again, regardless of the social issues and regardless of the coronavirus. Now, does it mean that not all that stuff is irrelevant or doesn't matter? No, because I would love to see these players actually take a real stand on what they said. And because the NBA is now botching the most simplistic of requests, which is patches on jerseys, I would like to see them take a stand against this. Will we see that? Probably not. From the beginning, I just thought it was all hype. I just thought it was all talk. Something that Kyrie Irving's been really good at his whole career. But again, if you out there, if you have the list of everything that they requested the NBA to do, please tell me what link or website where I can go find that. Because again, according to the research and reporting that I've done, according to what Adam Silva said out of his own mouth, he said there is no plan. They're just simply discussions. And once again, we let the NBA finesse. All right. Once again, they allowed the NBA to take control of this jersey issue, and now the NBA controls what you can even put on a jersey. Now they are controlling your voice again. Now that you see the NBA is controlling your voice again, are you guys still willing to sit out? Will we see this large group of players say that because of this, because they're trying to control our voice, because they're trying to control the narrative, we're sitting out, we're not playing? Again, I said back a while ago when the first initial deadline was released that we won't see any players doing that. July 1st has now passed. We still haven't seen any players doing that. So all these dates continue to pass, and we don't see a single player, including players like Dwight Howard, who are directly involved in some of these social issues, say that they're not going to play. Like I said, it is. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. You know, some people are willing to accept less. Some people are fine with the rah-rah talk, and typically those are the people who just go with the movements. If a movement is popular, they're a part of it. When it's not popular, they're not talking about it. You know, how many of us are still talking about these social issues now that COVID-19 is spiking again? You know, COVID-19 is spiking again, but now COVID-19 is the new hot topic. Social justice and social justice reform is second on that list. You know, doctors will find a cure for COVID-19 between now and the next 5 years. Will we find a cure for these social and economic inequalities for African Americans over the next 5 years? Or does that not matter as much? Again, just something for y'all to think about. Again, it's time for us to start thinking critically and thinking for ourselves and thinking long term. All right, thinking about what makes sense, what's based out of reality and what's based out of fiction. But that all starts with you being able to think for yourself. It's FYF Sports. Been another great breaking news video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Got any questions for us, hit us up on social media, hit us up on Twitter. Let us know, man. You got any questions for me? If you don't like my take on this matter, if you do have Kyrie's plan of action to resolve this matter, if you are familiar with that, hit us up, let us know. But again, according to the players, Lou Williams spoke on what the plan was. Mike Scott is now speaking on what the plan is. And again, it's just slowly getting exposed that a lot of these guys were just unprepared. And like I said, my advice, stop jumping off cliffs, trying to assemble your parachute on the way down. You better have that parachute strapped up and ready to go before you jump. That's called having a plan. FYF Sports. And we out.